Alright, so last time I built a application. I'm going to skip the part about connecting in the javafx resources. I'm just going to start a Eclipse project from scratch, showing you how that's all connected in. So here we go, starting Eclipse. And it's using 2021-19 right now. I do like to name my workspace after that, although you don't have to. But when workspaces changes, it's a little scary. I don't know if I'm losing things in the old projects. So I'd like to leave it as, yes, remind me each time what my workspace is. And that's where it'll create the projects as it goes. So Java's starting up on my other screen. I'll pull it over here as soon as it lets me. Here we go. Let me fit it to my screen. And I'm going to close the one I had last time, get started completely from scratch. So show you the exact path. I'm going to close the project, start a new one, file, new, oh, not that, file, new Java project. Give it my name. I'm going to call it Manning. I'll call this JFX. What are we? 21 cs212. What's the date? 21 10 22. 21 10 22. Just give it some goofy name. Now because I had multiple JDKs in here, I wanted to be sure I'm using JDK 17. So I went to this and it remembers my last choice. And I click next. I don't think there's anything here. I just like to kind of view this. I will come back and add libraries. I suppose I could add them right here. Why don't I do that right here? Let's do add library. Add my user library. Oh, it doesn't see javafx 17. I guess let's see if I can add it here. I'm going to do a new, call it javafx 17. And let's see if I can add those external jars that I downloaded last time. They're over here in my extra storage downloads. Did I put them in here? I think so. No, where did I put them? No, I lost them. Did I put them in programming? There's OpenJavaX 1701. I'll go ahead and unzip those. And now I'll go down into the library version and select all the jars. And now that javafx 17 is available as a user library, I'm checking it because I'm planning to use it in this project. Now if it's already there uploaded, why isn't it showing there? Let's see. Add library, user library. Oh, somehow got unchecked. There we go. I'm not sure why it's not showing up here. I guess I'll come back to my project properties to make sure it shows up. Give it that name. Yes, I'm going to let it generate comments. And this is my goofy module name. Kind of goes with my package name. First thing I want to do is right-click, new class. That's going to be my main entry point. I'm going to call it main. It wants to use a capital letter at the first. I'm going to call it main GUI. That's my, whenever I make a project, main GUI is my main. I'm going to choose create the public static void main, even though it's hardly anything in there. I'm going to let it generate comments, planning ahead for updating my comment template, and finish. There's my main. Now let's make sure that my project properties is referring to that user library that I need. So on project properties, make sure underneath Java build path, libraries, module path, add that user library javafx 17 and finish. Now it shows up in my Java build path. These are things that it's handling for you as it builds your project by having that in there. Apply and close. Now I have my starting main GUI. I put in here, first thing, extends application. Application, get it spelled right, and then good things will happen. Extends application. Oh, and I think it's a capital A if I recall. Now, hovering over that, Java sees what I have as my libraries, and it finds, oh, there's an application defined over there in javafx application. I click on that. It adds the import here. And if I go to module info, it has added requires javafx graphics. All right. So now I'm ready to start doing graphics. Oh, but there's some red squigglies. Hover over that, and it gets, oh yes, there's unimplemented methods that need to go with an application. Let the Eclipse add the template for that. I know from javafx examples that all the main does launch with the arguments args of the program. Down here, this is where I'm going to be doing the javafx things. And the only thing I'm doing here, first of all, I'm going to rename that from arg0 to, I'm going to call it stage. I was using stg before, but I think stage is a better name. Partly because there's some examples out there that use stage that I'm going to steal code from. All I'm going to do for my stage is do stage dot set title, all the auto fill, and I'm going to put in for my title Manning javafx 10, 22, 21. And in order for that to show when I run my program, I also put in a stage.show. JavaFX is all about stages and scenes. We're going to be, want to actually do some meaningful graphics, we're going to have a scene on the stage. Now let's try running it. I click the run, confirm yes, I want to save all the resources before I ever launch again. I click OK, and it almost works until I get some red, some scary red, and it took me like 5 minutes at the end of the last class to realize, as I read through these error messages, I see a little message down here, something about cannot access class manage javafx blah 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 because does not export Manning, my little project name. And then I realized, oh yes, I need to export this thing. How is it done? Watch this. Over in module info, one little line missing from there is exports the name of my package. Once I have that exports in there, now when I run, I get a window, pops up, says nothing but the title that I have. So now I have a successfully written and running JavaFX-based program. And now I'm ready to play with more things I could do on that stage. So just to review, I need to have, well, Java or Eclipse helps me with adding the requires things as I add more things to do in my graphic program. In order for it to run, this thing has to be added manually. Don't know why it doesn't help me put that in there instead of making me type that. I do see that there's one little warning that I want to see if I can get rid of. This again gets back to the little magic of JavaFX and things I have to do. I click on here and it says the stage from module JavaFX may not, let's expand that, may not be accessible to clients due to missing requires transitive. Well, I copied and pasted that error, and I realized what they mean by that is, if I add requires transitive, then my error will go away. Now, no one online has explained exactly what transitive means, so I'm not going to pretend I know exactly what transitive means. But something about having transitive there, if I save this now, that last warning goes away. I do not like to see warning messages. Sometimes you live with warning messages because they're just around and you're not sure what they mean and how to get rid of them, but your program runs. But in the real world out there, if you're writing a program, you want to get rid of those error messages, figure out why are they caused before you sell it to customers. In this case, we're playing with JavaFX, just learning how to do graphics. So here's my module info. This has been added. I'm going to put a little comment here. Requires statements inserted by Eclipse. When I hover, when errors. Hover. When I hover over errors, I'll double click on my tab to see just the source code. These requirement statements are nicely added by Eclipse. When I hover, this I had to add by myself, added after searching on initial startup errors. And I don't remember what site I found the answer. When I first find it, I do put in comments where I found the answer to why I needed this, because often those are good sites to go back to later. Okay, so module info has just these things in there. There'll be more in there as I do more with graphics. The main GUI, I have main. All main does is do a launch, and somehow when I do a launch, it causes javafx to finally call the start method of my application. Remember, this extends application I added knowing I needed that for using javafx. Okay, so now the rest of our graphics learning here is to figure out what can I do with my stage. And some of the easiest things there to do are to look at some examples that show us what we can do with our stage. And basically, I'll put it in comments here. Basically, what we need to do in our stage, that every stage, or for more graphics, you need nodes that live often in groups or elements. I'll call them groups. The groups live in scenes, and then the scenes get added to the stage. So as I want to actually have some graphics show up on my stage, I have to create some groups of things to be drawn. I can put them on different scenes, can contain multiple groups, and I can have multiple stages that I decide to set for my scene. So I'll show you how this works then by looking at a little javafx example. There's some fancy examples, but we want to start with simple examples first. But before we go any further, I want to make sure you can compile this and have it working, because you'd think it would be easy, but no, sometimes it's a little bit tougher. So I'm going to come around and check that you can get this far and have an actually working window in javafx. I'm going to pause